Hey, we got a pretty good one today for unboxing. A little bit of everything. We got some Patek's, one of them being very, very special. IWC, we got Rolex, we got 𝗙𝗰𝗲𝗯𝗆, we got all kinds of stuff to my left. And an independent that most probably haven't even heard about. So stay tuned, this is gonna be a good one. I'd like to kick this off with a new model IWC, and particularly why I wanted to kick it off with IWC, because I looked at it this morning and I really, really like the watch, right? So what we have here, Marco, is?
This is the new IWC. It's a Top Gun. I think it's a Top Gun edition.
It is a Top Gun.
Yes, it's a Top Gun edition, but this one is with a ceramic, or the ceratanium. It's not ceramic, so it's ceramic and titanium, and it's got like that tinted window on the back of it. This is my first time seeing it, and this is a sick look. It's almost like a ghost. Like
took the words out of my mouth. I'm gonna dub this one the Ghost.
Yeah, it's such a nice look. And one thing I'll say is that my biggest gripe with IWC Chronos in the past always were they were a bit too thick, like top heavy, a bit thick. With this
one is not bad.
Yeah, with these models, they actually made them slightly thinner, these newer updated ones, and they actually wear on the wrist really, really nice. This is, honestly, this is one I'd want for my personal collection, and I've never said this about an IWC pilot watch in the past.
Well, the last IWC I said I want for my collection had to do with the fact that it was, you know, Formula One, Lewis Hamilton, and things of that nature. But certainly one for the books, and I love the fact that the word Ghost came out of my mouth, because when I first saw it, me and Alex were talking about it earlier on Instagram. He said it's wearable, it's the perfect size, and the word Ghost was mentioned more than once.
Yeah, it's crazy to think, you know, we talked about, I think in a past Watch News Weekly, you know, the IWC Flieger look as a blank canvas. It's crazy to see how many they've done, and yet it still keeps the line very fresh.
I like it. Well, I'm going to switch gears a little bit to go to an independent, and we're going to talk about Francois Paul Journe. And I'm going to let you pronounce the name of this particular model.
This is a Chronomètre Souverain. This is actually a sold order for a customer of mine. Actually, I take no credit. He's the one who actually found the watch, and he saw it for a great deal. It was actually a very good colleague of ours that we've worked with a lot in the past, and I reached out to him. I was able to negotiate the price to get an even better deal for him. So this is going out to Gary. Gary, shout out to you. I hope you enjoy your watch and enjoy it in good health.
Well, what can we say about it? I mean, this is their, you know, this is their sort of entry level.
Yeah, it's their accessible model, although, you know, he actually got a great price on this, basically retail plus tax, right? Which is, you know, for me, when I found that out, I was like, listen, not for anything. He was going through a couple different models. We had talked about a Breguet 3350, which is Roth era tourbillon, and then he ended up getting this, and I think it's such a great watch because, for one, you're getting probably the biggest name independent, right? So there's that backing there. Second of all, you're getting it at a price that I feel is a great deal. Third, it's not like you're walking into 𝗙𝗰𝗲𝗯𝗆 and getting this, and you're getting a watch that I feel is very emblematic of the brand, because yes, it is an entry-level model, but it still has all the hallmarks of 𝗙𝗰𝗲, from the hands to the numerals, even the movement, right? The two barrels stacked in parallel, so it allows for an even power delivery over the course of its power reserve. It's all those little nuances that I think make 𝗙𝗰𝗲 such a special watch and such a special watchmaker that make this a great watch. It especially pops just because of those blue hands. I think it's a great look.
I'm going to throw a Rolex into the mix, and the reason I'm going to throw this is a Rolex that I have something to say about. This is the 𝗵𝗵 meteorite dial, white gold. When this watch first came out, and everybody was like going crazy for it. You know, it came out around the time when the hype was starting, and it was just like everybody wanted it because, again, they made less of them and so on and so forth. My first reaction to the watch was, I'm not a fan aesthetically, simply due to the fact that I felt that the bezel was taken away from the meteorite dial. I always felt like if I were designing this watch, I would make it like sort of a ghost bezel, like a white and a gray, right? To where the meteorite dial becomes more prominent. I was always a fan of meteorite dials, but the meteorite dial watches were always about that. They were about the meteorite dial. And then I realized as the time went on, the watch grew on me and so on and so forth. And that's really the point I was trying to make. It's really not about the watch, but how our mentality works when you're in the watch space, when you're handling watches all the time. All of a sudden, something that you deem was not the greatest design aesthetically, you later on find out, oh, I actually like this watch. It actually grew on me. It's funny how human brain works, because originally when this came out, I remember we got the first one in, and I think me and Adrian were doing an unboxing, and he's like, oh my God, this is a banger. I love this watch. It's so beautiful. And I'm like, no. The meteorite dial just doesn't belong here, right?
Yeah, I got to be honest with you, Roman. Me and you completely disagree on this one. You know, from the moment this was released, I thought this was a knockout hit. I'm not the biggest Rolex fan, but this to me is like the ultimate modern Rolex. I think the GMT Master is the best watch that Rolex makes. Not from a a technical standpoint. I just think in the genre of watch, right? There's great chronographs. There's 𝗙𝗏𝗆 an annual calendar GMT. There's great watches in that genre. But the GMT Master 2 defines the GMT range. And this to me harkens back to one of my favorite Rolexes, which is an albino dial 6542. One of the rarest Rolexes you can find out there.
Yeah,
and this
you're not going to see that on an unboxing anytime soon. Oldie but a goodie coming up next from my era, and what we're talking about here is we're talking about the Royal Oak Offshore Volcano. Somebody outfitted with an aftermarket strap. I've seen this done often in rubber to match the orange, which is actually a good look. I'm not going to knock it. I will tell you this. We'll go back to the story of Offshore's original Beast comes out. It was somewhat of a success, a bit of a later time because bigger was better, became prominent a little bit after the release of the original Beast, 1992. Actually, people say 1992, 20th anniversary of the Royal Oak, but you didn't really see him hitting the market until 1993, actually. But it was made for the 20th anniversary of the Royal Oak back in 1992, and it was okay. They didn't go, they did it in stainless steel. Later serials from D to E, they did it in titanium. When they went to the newer system, they came out with know it as the Themes dial. That was a new dial for the watch. It was the more prominent waffle dial. With that said, they came with the connection system of the little inserts you see between the case and the strap, and it did well. And then they said, okay, how do we expand on that? And they expanded on it by introducing color, introducing things like the Volcano, which is a nickname, and they did what? They did the navy, which is blue, they did the Volcano, which is orange, and they did the Safari, which was brown, right? And those are nicknames that I believe were given in the industry at some point, just like Rolexes get nicknames. One problem with these, who made the chrono
It's a
module?
Ďubois Duprat module.
So Ďubois Duprat, French is just not a thing for me. Module is problematic, always has been. So whenever we purchase these things, when we're out there buying them, there's a bigger line between the buy and the sell, and people will say, well, you bought it for $10, why are you selling it for $16? Well, it's because we have to invest money into it. If the chrono module is not broken as the watch comes in, we replace it regardless, because if it's not broken today, we know it's going to be problematic in the future, so we replace it with a more updated module from AP in order to ensure that your chronograph is working. Because no matter what you do, you can sell a watch to a client, if a year later down the line it breaks, and seemingly it's not your fault, it still leaves a sour taste in people's mouth, and we try to prevent that by replacing that. Volcano took off, and it took off really, really well, because there's something about orange that, as much as it's a loud color, as much as it's like a wild color scheme, it's still very, very wearable.
It's very much in the spirit of offshore. Like I consider an offshore more of like a summer, spring kind of watch. And I mean, you look at the Volcano colors, right? This screams summer to me.
I'm gonna jump to a Patek, and I'm jumping to a Patek, which somebody told me is they felt that, and again, this came from a person that actually tends to wear watches that are sized for his wrist. Somebody that has a slightly smaller than an average wrist like myself. And they felt like this particular release of Patek was actually a bit too big, and they prefer the older size. And this, I'm talking about the new 5168. Now, for me, the gripe with Patek always has been having coming up in the world where bigger was better, is that these were actually too small. What are your thoughts on the size of them going bigger?
I don't think it's too big. So I mean, I have a pretty small, like a smaller wrist, but I think a 42 still wears very well just because of the integrated bracelet with the rubber strap, right? So it doesn't wear like a true 42 millimeter watch, in my opinion, right? I think it actually wears a touch smaller. But yeah, I actually like this specifically because of the weight, right? So one thing about the 51...
You feel it.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like a 5167, although I think it's a great watch, it can feel a little bit, I don't want to say like cheap, but it just like, it feels too light.
I gotta work for it, dinky.
It feels very light, right? And it has kind of Patek's entry-level caliber, et cetera, et cetera. So people don't view it as like that great of a sports watch, although I think it is. I think this fixes that problem in the sense that you obviously get Patek's quality, but you also get the heft, and the color, I think, just pops. In blue and green, I think they're both stunning. I mean, AP has their carbon watches, you know, like carbon concept, for example, but Richard Mille's the only one that I know of that can really fetch crazy prices and have like plastic or, you know, crystal.
I'm just here waiting on Patek to get a little less conservative, take that model and give me the yellow, the red, the orange, like the OP colors from Rolex. Like, that would work.
No, I don't think it makes sense for them.
It may not make sense for them. Listen, I'm saying it would work.
The furthest they've got was a bejeweled minute repeater, which.
Oh no, you mean when they went too far?
Well, yeah, let's see.
The rainbow minute repeater on a bracelet.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
You know what? Let's just go ahead and bejewel it with a bunch of baguettes and different color stones. and then put it on a bracelet that's all bejeweled. And for good measure, let's throw a minute repeater in there and charge you $40 million gajillion dollars, right? I don't even know what the retail on that thing is. It's like $1.5 million or something.
I think 1.6. Yep.
Yeah, like 1.6 million. That's pretty crazy.
But yeah.
I'm gonna jump to another Patek, but this one is packaged a little bit different. And because this is a Tiffany stamp Patek, I wanted to get your thoughts on, do you think because you hear rumors, and please guys, don't listen to rumors, they're just that, they're rumors. You hear rumors in regards to, Patek potentially severing a relationship with Tiffany ever since they've been bought over. And do you think that will ever happen? So
the main rumor was because the Arnault family, specifically, I forget his name, but the essentially the founder of LVMH and the head of it, it's not Jean, it's Bernard Arnault.
Bernard Arnault.
And the Stern family were always in a well-known feud, right? They never got along for the longest time. And so that was really where the rumor started. When obviously Tiffany was sold to LVMH, people thought, okay, well, this is probably, it had been a rumor in previous years. Patek had said...
It's people using common sense to think that something's going to be
Tiffany was always...
Not really like the business is business.
Right, but at the end of the day, exactly, you took the words right out of my mouth. Business is business. They made a piece unique 5740 Tiffany dial for Bernard Arnault. So if that wasn't good enough to maintain the relationship, I don't know what would be.
So to me, and this is an Adrian thing, Adrian came up with a concept of what I like to call the gold medal, right? Every watch has its own gold medal, right? So for me, in my mind, a Rolex presidential with a champagne dial, or gold dial as I like to call it, is the gold medal for Rolex. For Patek, unmistakably, I feel like the 5980 rose gold is the gold medal. Would love to see that in yellow gold. Yellow gold is kind of becoming a thing. We're starting to see a trend from companies, obviously AP leading the way. But we've also gotten into a time, because what's the number one question we get asked today? Is this the right time to buy? Because post a correction in the market, people always say, oh, is this the bottom? Is it going back up? What's happening? That's like the questions we have to answer every single day.
Crystal ball.
And the answer is always the same. We don't have a crystal ball. We can foresee certain things. We can always tell you what's a better buy versus the other. But at the end of the day, we don't know if tomorrow there's going to be another economic crisis or another boom. What I have seen, and when people ask me specifically about Tiffany ones, in a high market, it was just straight up double. You got a 5980 that was trading at 285. If you went on with a Tiffany stamp, you're paying double. Today, that line has come back down to what it usually was. Depending on the model, it's going to be anywhere from you're paying retail for a watch that normally gets discounted to 125 retail to 1.5 retail on these same pieces, right? In the case of this one is about 1.5 because it is a Nautilus. So that's what I like to see. I like that normalizing because there are still people out there, believe it or not, that act as an investor first when it comes to buying watches and as a watch lover second. And this is the type of stuff they look for. And this is the type of stuff we look for. Problem is you can never get enough of it, right? But I think you have the gold medal, which is the 5980. This already has the new buckle system. This
Way
is
better system.
This is brand spanking new, never been touched, sitting with a collector in the box. And so you have the gold medal. I think a Tiffany stamp 5980 is like the ultimate gold medal.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think, I mean, just to touch on your point, right? I think one thing that this market has taught us is like the rarest watches will always hold their value. And that's been a time and tested true method, because at the end of the day—
You can just the same say Patek Philippe.
Well, it's not even just that, right? The richest people will hold on to the stuff that's really rare, right? It's pride of ownership. Like a watch like this, how many do you think there are out there specifically?
Don't even want to guesstimate.
Like,
not many.
I would say less than 5, probably, if I had to estimate.
Out there for sale. They were made a lot more.
Yeah, exactly.
But out there for sale?
Out there for sale. Like
I don't know
of
another one for sale.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the issue, right? It's a pride of ownership thing, and really it's a pick your price, because at the end of the day, go find another, and that's really what it comes down to.
I'm going to finish this unboxing off with a couple of, well, I should say one independent. There's 2 watches from one independent, so we'll count this one as one, unless there was another watch I missed. No, that's it. That's about it. That's all we wanted to talk about. But what we're talking about is we're talking about 𝗙𝗿𝗄𝗏, right? The guy's name is 𝗿𝗿𝗏𝗆, and the company's
Arman.
Arman.
Yeah,
Armand?
It's Arman. Yeah.
Arman Bard. And actually, I can check that. Armand, you're not wrong. So why did I think something else? Anyway, so I nicknamed these Santorini because I think it rolls off the tongue. It just rolls off, 𝗙𝗿𝗄𝗏 versus Santorini, it just rolls off the tongue. But so what we're talking about here, boys and girls, is we're talking about, and you guys be the judge of that. Is this really an independent, or is this a bespoke watchmaker? Definition of bespoke, by definition, is something that's custom made for you. You can have a bespoke suit, pair of shoes, strap, whatever you like to call it. Shout out to Aaron
Bespoke.
Aaron Bespoke, that makes bespoke straps, right? So what this gentleman does is he's not making the watches. He's a watchmaker. He is putting these watches together, but what is he doing? He's going out to very reputable companies and he's ordering certain things. The movement comes from
𝗙𝗏𝗄𝗏𝗏.
𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏. The case is the same fact. So
which is a very, very well-known case maker and movement maker specifically.
And they make cases for many, many major companies out there, right? But then what he does is he takes the raw movement, he takes the case, but he does the finishing. Right? And on top of that, he adds dials, which I feel are out of this particular world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing to hit on really is the price point, because there's other great dial makers out there. There's like the likes of 𝗿𝗏 Lane, who's a Finnish watchmaker who I actually really, really like, who will use a vaucheur movement as opposed to 𝗙𝗏𝗄𝗏𝗏. But I think this has such a nice elegance to it, but at the same time it's very sporty, and it's nice to have that added touch where you could literally customize the watches, right? Like, for example, that's probably my favorite one with what's it called, Aventurine on the outset and then 𝗙𝗏𝗄𝗽 in the middle.
This is I like them both the same. Like I love the mirror finish on this.
But the mirror finish is also
what's on the outside? What's on the outside?
It just looks like a grain finish on the outside.
So we have the grain finish on the outside. Yeah. We have the mirror finish on the inner side.
Yeah,
very debutante-like.
Right, and this is, listen, I don't know if you can consider 𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 an independent watchmaker. I think
he considers himself a bespoke watchmaker.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, right? The line has become kind of blurred as to what an independent watchmaker is, but certainly what you're getting is bespoke timepieces, and I think that's very, very cool.
So for me, it's the following. Number one, every one of his pieces is piece unique because it's bespoke. It's made to order.
Correct.
I know there's a 2-year waiting list to get a watch for him. Number one. Number two, affordable. Yeah. His watches range in around that $10,000 price range retail. And over there, it's like, there's no, oh, this is the retail price. There is no retail price. That's what you pay in order to have one of those watches made. I think in the near future, you're going to see him raising those prices because he's getting overwhelming demand with a 2-year wait list. And again, I don't know how many he produces a year. I'm sure that's something we can do some deeper research and find out. This is the first time I'm seeing, and you don't really see them because people that custom order watches, they tend to not to resell them.
Yeah, they're gonna hold on to them for sure. And he also just made a new caliber. It's a tourbillon caliber, which is also spectacular. So
who made that?
I'm not sure. I think that might have been an in-house creation, if I'm not mistaken.
So one of the things you also have to consider is not just the finishes on the outside, by him, finishing off the cases, by him finishing off the dials, but also the finishing of the movement, because he does that just the same. But you guys can see the back of the watches, and he does a hell of a job on finishing the movements as well, because you can take a raw movement, and if you put your touch to it and finish it bespoke, you tell him I want blue screws everywhere, or if you tell him I want high polish or satin polish on the plates, or whatever it might be. Again, the key word is bespoke, and I know that this guy's been offered money to say, hey, let's go a little bit more mainstream, let's create an actual brand and so on and so forth. They turn it down because he chooses to sit in the shop and specifically make a watch for the person. Guys, I think that's it for us. Comment below on your favorites of the unboxing. Comment below with any questions, concern, like, comment, share, subscribe as well. We said thank you for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Marco, thank you for joining us.